Hello everybody and welcome back to Pravus Gaming and more Democracy 3 Presidential Suite, the modpack thing, playing as Sweden. And a very happy Friday to all of you. I'm recording this on Thursday night, so a very fast turnaround for all of you. So, looking at some of the comments in the last video. Fine, I will stop calling them Kronos? I think it's supposed to be like Kroner or Kruner. Whatever, I'll stop trying to pronounce this Swedish, I'll just call them crowns. I tried, guys. I don't speak any of the Nordic languages. And I'm sorry. I'll just call them crowns from now on. Are you happy? Good. Child abuse. Oh, that's a good way to start the video. Sure, why not? Okay. Should we allow parents to carry out corporal punishment against children? Children's rights organizations say that spanking, paddling, and all similar acts should be criminalized. Okay. Allow the spanking. Being a parent is difficult and parents need the option to use limited force as a last resort so that children learn to respect authority. Making a criminal procedure out of smacking? Okay. Will put undue burden on law enforcement as well as families, or criminalize spanking. There is no evidence whatsoever that children are better raised by threat of force, but plenty of data which says that assaulted children will grow up to be more violent than average. If children cannot trust their parents, when will they ever feel confident? Okay. So, this is an issue that I think is somewhat delicate. I have my opinions on it, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree because it is very delicate based on your prioritization. I suspect this is going to be a thing where you find a lot of Europeans and Americans kind of diverge statistically on this subject a little bit more. Namely, with Europeans, I think, being a little bit more against spanking and wanting to criminalize it, and Americans being a little bit more lenient toward it. So I can't really speak necessarily to those groups because I think some people will get very angry, but what I can tell you is that a little bit of my personal story here. I was spanked growing up. Yeah, I was, and I actually think that that was good. At a certain age, right? At a certain age, there comes a point where you're able to rationalize with your child and explain your actions and why they're being punished and stuff, and expect to reason with them. But there's a certain age when you're a bit younger than that, like, say, before 11, where your attention span is so low that taking away toys and other stuff doesn't really have much of an effect. Sometimes a simple, quick, short-term physical pain, if it is very carefully administered, can have the desired effect. Now, I know it sounds really squeamish even saying that, right? Applying physical pain for shame! The reason... Yes and no. I can definitely see, on one hand, there are definitely plenty of examples of parents who instead of carefully disciplining their child, start beating them, right? Because they're angry, in order to make them feel better, they just start beating their children, and that's where the assault thing comes in. And absolutely, that is horrible. That's abusive, right? So why then am I kind of okay with the fact that my parents spanked me? Is because they never beat me. We had a very, very strict discipline system in my family when I was growing up. If I, let's say, disobeyed, right? If I was told to do something and I just didn't do it, I knew for a fact that I was going to get 2 swats. That's it. Just 2, and that was all. It was very carefully laid out discipline system where I knew the expectations, I knew the consequences, and that's it. My parents very, very dispassionately gave me 2 swats, and I'm done. You had different punishments for lying, for defiance, stealing, stuff like that, right? That's sort of the idea. And I think my parents walked the very fine line of being not too lenient and sparing the rod to spoil the child, so to speak, but also not crossing that line of anger. That's the trick to me. Spanking, once it becomes done out of anger, crosses a line. And now it's abusive and it's a problem. But if it's done as very careful punishment, at least before a certain age before it becomes kind of inappropriate, I'm kind of okay with that. Now, how much of that is because I grew up with it? I don't know. I'm gonna allow it. But oh, that person sounds very upset. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just because I grew up with it. Maybe because I grew up with it, I'm more okay with that idea than other people would be. I guarantee you there are a lot of people out there who are fervently against it. But there are a lot of other people who just sort of swear by it. They're like, yeah, of course, I deserve to get spanked. And it didn't hurt. It wasn't that bad. It barely hurt. It just sort of gave you a little smack. And it's like, huh, I probably shouldn't do that. I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on this. I definitely see both sides of the argument, but that's the line to me. At least that's where I make the distinction. Whether or not that's fair, I don't know. I would be open to discussion on that one, definitely. All right, so what do we want to do now that we're in year 3? I've spent the last 5 minutes doing all this. We probably... Well, let's see. We've done a lot as far as trying to switch the population away from socialism and go to the light of capitalism. We actually have almost half of the population now securely capitalist. That's pretty good. The problem is they're not very happy with me still. So, what would really make them happy? Changing the income tax, yeah, sure. Capital gains, sales tax, state healthcare, state housing. We have state housing? Uh-oh. State pensions, unemployment, rent control. Rent controls? No. No. We can't have rent controls. I've actually talked about this before in previous series. I understand the political draw to rent controls. It's actually a very savvy political choice. It wins a lot of votes. But in my experience, having read through a lot of different economic analyses, rent controls almost always exacerbate the shortage problems and make things worse in the long run than they do help. At least that's been from my study of economics. Anyway, now what is it doing for us in the game, though? Well, it reduces private housing, which I don't see as a good thing. It increases the black market, really. Maybe it's a way of trying to sell high-quality housing? I don't know. Kind of curious exactly what the impact would be on the black market. It definitely is reducing high earnings, but it also does a lot to reduce poverty, at least in the game. Well, we're not going to allow this, obviously. We're going for a more libertarian playthrough. The question now is, do I just reduce it down to 0? If we do that, poor earnings are still okay, capitalist incomes goes down. No, I'm trying to make capitalists rich. I'm trying to turn the entire population into capitalists. Screw it, we're canceling this. We're libertarian, by God. No rent controls. Laissez-faire economics, let it be. That's sort of the idea. I don't know. I'm actually going to save the rest of my political capital right now because I have an idea of something else I want to do, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Oh good, the Rust Belt has come to an end. Oh look, and poverty's gone up. We'll find a way to get it back down. It won't be so bad. Highway collapses. Uh-oh. One of the on-ramps for a major highway has suffered a catastrophic collapse, injuring several motorists and causing traffic chaos for miles. Okay, well apparently we have not been maintaining the roads enough. Boo. Okay, well, here's the thing that I want to do. Let's take a look at the doctor's strike. It's not going down quite enough. Apparently, trade unionist membership is not changing very quickly, if at all. We may want to do some things that kind of reduce trade unionist membership a bit more, because it's killing our health a lot. 27%. Kind of crazy. So, if we were to, let's say, go to economy, trade union restrictions, the question is, how much am I able to do this without being a little bit anti-libertarian and rejecting people of the rights to form unions if they want to, but at the same time not allowing unions to become overly powerful? How do I find that line? I'm not really sure. Again, this isn't going to be a perfect libertarian playthrough because it's not really possible in this game. But let's take a look at this. So, we're going to restrict trade unions a little bit. It's going to cost me 32 political capital. The question is, how much to do it? Companies face a lot of challenges in our modern times. Trade unions often need these challenges with their demands and needs, so banning these organizations will help management focus. See, here's the thing. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to help business. I'm trying to restrict trade unions from becoming too powerful and shutting down key services like our national health. So the question is, how much can we do? Well, first off, I think a total ban is a little bit ridiculous. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, we could eliminate trade unionist membership. It would be very effective. They'd be unhappy, but who cares because they won't exist. And we also reduce socialist membership and increase our capitalist membership. But wages go down, and liberals are unhappy. So I don't think that we can do this, even though, under other circumstances, I would actually say this is very good for a playthrough. Companies' discretion, so companies can decide how much they want to allow the unions to have control over their labor. Maybe. What I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep it relatively low. I'm going to keep it at about vote needed. And what this basically means, I think, is that the trade union leaders cannot make sweeping decisions on behalf of everybody. The actual members of the union have to vote on these issues. So it actually tries to make the trade unions a little bit more democratic, as opposed to a little bit more, I guess for lack of a better word, oligarchic. At least that's sort of the idea, and I think we can actually kind of justify this a little bit. Now, it does instantly reduce the trade unionist membership by about 14%, which is good because this is going to help us restrict the doctor strike a bit. So I can kind of justify doing this, I think, and just making sure that, people have a right... Because here's the thing about trade unions, right? At least in the United States, at least in some places of the United States, if you want to get into a certain industry, you cannot unless the trade union accepts you. Like, you literally cannot offer your services, and that's a very distinct distortion of the free market. It's a monopoly on labor, is effectively what it is. And by restricting this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so that it's not such a monopoly. We're trying to break the monopoly and make it so that trade unions have to persuade people rather than force them. Now, there are a lot of states in the United States that have tried to pass laws called right to work, which basically restricts exactly this. Trade unions are not allowed to force people to join their union in order to get a job. They have to try and persuade people. And as a result, a lot of people leave the unions because, lo and behold, those unions are not very persuasive. At least that's the idea. Now, I know there are a lot of people who watch this stuff who are a big supporter of trade unions. I'm not necessarily against trade unions per se. I wouldn't join one personally. But I am definitely against that kind of control. A labor monopoly is not much better, really, than an industry monopoly. Not really. So in this case, I think we're adding what would be a pretty reasonable restriction to try and make the playing field a little bit more fair. That's sort of the idea. I'm kind of curious on your thoughts on that one, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure if I justified that well or not. I don't know. Some rogue motorists use our highways for illegal street races. They are noisy and risky, and road workers' unions demand that we send out the police before people are killed. These events are popular amongst the motorists. They would get upset. I don't care. They're illegal. I don't care if it would upset you. Crack down on races. Yeah, no. No. We're cracking down on the races. I don't see any good justification for that. Okay. So let's try doing a few more things to try and improve some of these events. And also, I want to boost my capitalist membership a little bit more. There are some very easy ways to do that. If you go to, let's say, economy. Yeah, there we go. Young Entrepreneur Scheme. What we're going to do is we're going to try to encourage kids to learn business practices and how to start their own companies. That's going to be the idea. So we're reducing socialism membership, making capitalists and the youth happier for very, very cheap. Not so bad. We can also do something kind of similar with the business startup campaign. There we go. So we're going to try to basically have a government program that teaches people how to start their own business if they want to do so. And by doing so, we're greatly increasing self-employed membership. Here's the fun thing about this, right? I know a lot of people will look at this and say, oh, you're going for a capitalist playthrough. You want everyone to serve the corporations and stuff. Blur, 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 blur. Actually, the particular path that we are taking is going to greatly encourage people to start their own businesses instead. Sweden's going to be less of a corporate powerhouse and more of a small business powerhouse, which has its drawbacks, but in general, you could say is probably pretty good. So we're trying to increase our self-employed membership quite a bit. Yeah, we'll see if that works or not. I have no idea. All right, other things we can do. Well, we can try to fight obesity. One easy way for us to do that would be to go to compulsory school sports, which improves our health and reduces obesity by having kids run around a bit more during recess. Okay, that's not so bad. We can try to reduce car usage and road accidents because they're getting worse. If we went to, let's say, the telecommuting initiative would help with that, I think. So commuter membership goes down, car usage goes down. That's good. Parents like it, trade unions like it, computer industry goes up. Oh! Obesity goes up from the telecommuting initiative. Has that always been the case? Is that new in the mod pack, or was that in the base game? I don't remember. Ooh, that is interesting. Okay, yeah. We're going to do it anyway because I'm trying to reduce car usage, but that's very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. It makes sense if you're sitting around your computer all day. The alternative is you're sitting around in your car all day. So I don't really see that helping that much, but okay. We'll go with that anyway. How is the labor shortage looking? Not that much better. Immigration is higher than it's ever been, and it's not doing much. Okay. We need to find a new tactic. What else is there? If there is, I think, work visas. Yes, work visas. Okay, this is something we can try to make work. So a work visa, instead of bringing people in to become citizens of Sweden, we give them a permit to work in Sweden. So not necessarily a citizen, but they do help fix some of our labor shortage. That's sort of an idea. So we can allow a lot of different kinds of people in. Here's the problem. Oh, this is interesting. Work visas will increase unemployment and drive down wages. Very interesting. Now, we happen to know that our incredibly low unemployment is contributing to the labor shortage. The incredibly high wages are also contributing, so by increasing unemployment and reducing wages, that's actually making a huge whammy on the labor shortage by itself, and this does directly target the labor shortage. Trade unionists don't like the competition. Racial tension goes up. All applicants, contracted workers, skilled workers, high-demand skills, or exceptional skills. Let's say we just do high-demand skills. I'm not trying to open the floodgates, so to speak. We want it to be relatively low. Actually, let's do something more like... Let's do something more like this. We're not trying to open the floodgates. We're not trying to have a ton of people come in and turker gerbs, right? We're not trying to do that, but we are trying to say whenever there's something in high demand, for example, we need a ton of plumbers and construction workers, and no one's taking the jobs, we will increase the number of visas out to those specific jobs to try and meet those sectors of the economy. That's going to be the idea. Let's see how well that works. I've never done that before, but I am interested. Okay, very good. Let's move on then. Oh my god. Drug addiction. New situation has developed. Whoa. Okay. Why has this been going up? Police force, unemployment, poverty. Poverty's a thing. Technology? What? Wait a minute. As we become a more technological civilization, our youth are turning to drugs. It's technology that drives that? Really? Not unemployment and poverty and a few other issues. Well, that's very interesting. How the crap am I going to fix this? Oh, this is bad. Crime goes up, productivity goes down, health goes down, road accidents increase. This is a really bad event. But shy of sabotaging my technology, how do I fix this? Oh my god. Wow, okay. The Tyrant, opening to be cancelled. Is this based off the movie The Dictator? It probably is. A major film studio is releasing The Tyrant, a satirical depiction of the dictator of Bootopia. They've complained, however. Do we attend the opening because we need to defend free speech and foreign dictators shall not control our cinema? Or, this provocation is a security risk. Provoking a madman will only lead to trouble. We will not censor the film, just recommend the studio to cancel the opening. Yeah, this sounds a lot like the thing about Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Well, I'm going to attend the opening. Free speech! But yeah, the drug addiction. This is really bad. Huh. Are there new policies that exist specifically to try and help with this? Not seeing anything. Law and order, perhaps. No, no, no. The Purge. No. Decentralization. No, no. Outreach against extremism. That could be good for other circumstances, but I don't think it includes this. Domestic undercover agents? Perceived to be enemies of the state. Crime strikes protests. No, that's not about, that's not undercover cops. That's actual infiltration of, anti-governmental groups. Never mind. Voting age. The needle exchange program? Maybe. I don't feel like that would help, but maybe? Maybe we use this to try and help encourage people to get off of the drugs. No. Dang it. Alright. Well, it does make liberals happy and it increases our health. I think this is kind of stupid. I mean, yes, you are addicted to drugs. Let us give you cleaner needles. I mean, I get that it helps, like, if people are going to do drugs anyway, we're trying to make them so they don't get sick. Okay, I get that sense, but at the same time, that does seem a little bit enabling, doesn't it? I don't know. They say it's a good way to fight a drug abuse, but I don't see that happening here. It doesn't say it does anything. Yeah, I've been misled. That doesn't help at all. Okay, well. Crap. What if we try to increase our health care? Now, I think that would work if I went to state health care. Yes, if we funded this better, we could fix the doctor strike, try to reduce the drug addiction and obesity. The problem is this is the socialistic kind of way of dealing with things, which is not what I had in mind. What I actually wanted to do is kind of follow the success of our school vouchers program and instead move toward a healthcare voucher system, which is interesting. So instead of actual, like, state-run medicine, you're basically saying, all right, everyone using tax dollars will have guaranteed access to healthcare, but rather than the government running the healthcare, we're instead going to give you a voucher and encourage the free market to compete for your voucher and innovate and offer better quality and lower their prices and so on. It's a way of trying to give people guaranteed health access while at the same time fostering a strong free market, a strong medical industry, rather than a state monopoly. That's the idea around healthcare vouchers. We're going to go for this because it increases private healthcare quite a bit, which is good. That's going to save me a lot of money because I'm not going to be providing all the healthcare. It also greatly reduces socialism by several percentage points. Now, it does cost a lot, though. We're talking another 20 billion crowns. I feel so defeated. Another 20 billion crowns. Okay, but we're going to go for the healthcare vouchers and see what that does for us. By increasing private healthcare, though, does this help? It does. It does help with the drug addiction. So if we can greatly increase this, it will make some impact. It also can reduce obesity. At least a bit. Now, what's interesting about this is it actually says equality goes down because private healthcare becomes so strong. I don't see why that has to be the case. Not really, especially if everyone has a voucher program, but alright. Alright, so we haven't really found a good way to immediately deal with this. What if we try to reach the youth directly? With, youth club subsidies. There we go. Youth clubs to ensure that teenagers have a place to go and they can stay out of trouble. Yeah, okay, so it's not a very good use of taxpayer money from a libertarian standpoint, but what if by reaching the children directly we can save so many lives? Will that work? No. God! Okay, I don't feel like there's enough ways to deal with the drug addiction. Okay, parents socialist, crime goes down, youth like it, youth income goes down, alcohol consumption. It is just spending money for what I would consider to be all good things. But yeah, I was hoping for something more direct. Crap! I have no idea. Is there anything else we can afford? Not really. Well, yeah, but this has nothing to do with that. Homosexuality laws... No. Corporatism laws. What is this? Corporatism is a system where corporations and trade unions have formal or informal political influence. Corporatist structures might resolve strikes and other conflicts, but they are prone to corruption. While more conservative governments prefer a corporatist policy, liberal governments might regulate against special interest lobbying and revolving doors. It only costs 1 point. Let's see what this is. Okay, so it starts off with basically nothing. Except apparently a minus 0.12 trade union membership. Okay, whatever. So, right now we have laissez-faire approaches. So, neither pro-business nor pro-regulation per se. Like, we're not propping up state monopolies and guilds, right? Like the days of mercantilism. But we're also not greatly regulating it with a regulated economy. So what happens? Corporate councils, guild system, enforced monopolies. Oh my gosh, actual mercantilism in the game. Holy crap. So it's very corrupting, but it does eliminate the strikes. Liberals hate it. Environmentalist membership goes down. Patriot membership, trade unionist membership goes up. Or anti-cartel guidelines. Okay, so we're kind of talking like anti-monopoly laws and stuff. Career separation. Now, what would that mean? I'm guessing you're not allowed to be involved in government if you have any more ties to the corporate world, I'm guessing? I don't know. Strict regulation. It increases the strike by making them stronger, but it reduces corruption. Liberals like it. Environmentalist membership goes up. Patriot trade unionists. Huh. I don't think we really want to do anything here, because I think the more libertarian approach is not to have regulations, but it's also not to prop up guilds and monopolies. So I think actually it was just a waste of one political capital, but I was very curious. I wanted to see it. I think the appropriate response here is to do nothing. Let it be. Laissez-faire. That's what we're going to do. But that's interesting. I wasn't aware exactly how that would affect the economy. That's very, very interesting. Okay, well, we're out of political capital and we are out of time, so in the next video, we're going to try to find more ways of dealing with the drug addiction. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm not especially sure what to do about this, aside from sabotaging our technology, which is quite high, but that sounds like a terrible idea. We could increase religious membership. apparently giving people a good moral compass through religion is a good way to stop them from going to drugs? I don't know. That seems a little weird, too. I have no idea. I need some ideas, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button. Leave your respectful comments down below. I'm happy to discuss things if you disagree. And, of course, subscribe if you have not already. My name is Pravus, and I will see you guys next time.